If you're like me, you've been amazed and thrown back a bit over the last several weeks since the inauguration by all of the noise and all the drama and all the television moments that have poured out of Washington, D.C. Tariffs, deportations, Trump is going to run for another term, laying off huge numbers of workers without any explanation beyond references to efficiency, which nobody takes seriously or ought to.
Richard D. Wolff, an esteemed economist and professor emeritus at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, has a lot to say about the current economic situation in the United States. Known for his critiques of economic inequality, Wolff advocates for worker cooperatives as a way to empower individuals and address systemic issues within the economy. Let's delve into some of the pressing topics he discusses, focusing on the implications of recent decisions made during the Trump administration and how they affect both workers and the economy at large. But first, a quick reminder to subscribe so you can stay updated with all our latest content. In the evolving landscape of American politics and economics, significant changes are often initiated by decisions made at the highest levels of government. Recently, we experienced a notable shift under the Trump administration regarding the minimum wage for federal contracts. This change has profound implications for millions of workers across the nation, particularly those employed by federal contractors. The United States Labor Department, under President Trump, made a pivotal decision. Trump himself announced this change, which involved altering existing laws governing the minimum wage for workers on federal contracts. Previously, the minimum wage for these workers was set at $17.75 per hour. This amount was a significant increase from the $13.30 per hour set during the Obama administration. However, in a surprising move, the Trump administration decided to roll back this wage requirement, significantly impacting the livelihoods of those who depend on these contracts. By reducing the minimum wage for federal contractors, Trump effectively eliminated the requirement for government contracts to pay a living wage. This action could potentially lower the wage back to the pre-Obama levels or even further. The ramifications of this change are substantial. It is one thing to allow inflation to erode the purchasing power of a wage. It is quite another to directly diminish the wage itself. For hundreds of thousands of workers relying on federal contracts, a reduction from $17.75 to $13.30 is not just a nominal cut. It translates to a significant loss in income. As we unpack the implications of this decision, we must also consider the broader context of labor and economics in the United States. The debate surrounding the privatization of essential services, such as Amtrak and the United States Postal Service, has resurfaced, largely fueled by influential figures like Elon Musk. Musk has voiced support for privatizing these services, claiming that private enterprises are inherently more efficient than public ones. This argument, however, is fundamentally flawed. Many proponents of privatization argue that if Amtrak or the post office were to operate under private management, they would become profitable. They suggest that the inefficiencies of public enterprises stem from their inability to compete in a free market. However, this perspective overlooks critical realities. For instance, Amtrak often operates without competition on many routes. If it were to charge higher prices to become profitable, the burden would ultimately fall on the consumers who rely on these services. In essence, the argument for privatization often serves to benefit private corporations at the expense of the public. Moreover, the financial dynamics of public services like Amtrak and the post office provide essential support for the economy. The costs associated with these services are often subsidized by the government, allowing for lower prices that benefit consumers and businesses alike. If these services were privatized, we would likely see a significant increase in costs, which would not only affect individual consumers, but also raise operational costs for businesses that depend on these services. When considering the economic ramifications of immigration policies, we must reflect on the consequences of deporting large numbers of immigrants and blocking immigration. The economic impact is particularly pronounced for countries in Central America. For instance, in recent years, Mexico received approximately $64.7 billion in remittances from Mexican citizens living in the United States. This influx of money is crucial for the Mexican economy, representing about 4% of its annual GDP. Similarly, countries like Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, Haiti, and Jamaica rely heavily on remittances, which provide essential support to their economies. By restricting immigration and deporting individuals who contribute to the U.S. economy, we inadvertently harm these countries. When immigrants are unable to send money back home, the economies of these nations suffer. This creates a vicious cycle as the economic conditions in these countries deteriorate, leading to increased violence and social instability. As a result, we may see a rise in migration as individuals seek safer and more stable environments, ultimately creating challenges for the United States. Trump's stance on immigration seems to stem from a desire to blame foreign individuals for domestic issues. This scapegoating distracts from the real problems affecting American workers. In reality, the issues we face are often rooted in our economic structure, which disproportionately benefits a small number of employers at the expense of the majority. The focus on blaming immigrants diverts attention from the systemic inequalities that plague our society. Furthermore, the ongoing attack on federal employees under the Trump administration reveals a troubling trend. Thousands of federal employees have been laid off, supposedly in the name of efficiency. However, this narrative does not hold up under scrutiny. The number of federal employees has remained relatively stable over the past 50 to 60 years, even as the U.S. population has grown significantly. The same number of federal employees has been responsible for serving an increasingly larger population, which is a testament to their efficiency. The focus on reducing the federal workforce is not about improving efficiency. Instead, it reflects an ideological agenda aimed at diminishing the role of government in society. By targeting federal employees, Trump and his administration are sending a clear message. Job security is no longer guaranteed. This creates an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty among those who remain employed, as they are now expected to take on additional responsibilities without corresponding increases in pay. This trend does not only affect federal employees, as those laid off seek employment in state or local governments or the private sector, they may inadvertently drive down wages and worsen working conditions in those areas. The ripple effect of these policies extends far beyond the federal workforce, impacting the entire working class in the United States. As we consider the broader implications of Trump's policies, it is essential to recognize the interconnectedness of these issues. The decisions made at the federal level have far-reaching consequences that impact individuals and communities across the nation. The attack on workers, whether through wage reductions or layoffs, is not just a political strategy. It is an assault on the very foundation of our economy. Moreover, the perception of the United States on the global stage is changing. With Trump's unilateral decisions impacting countries worldwide, we are increasingly viewed as a rogue nation. The imposition of tariffs and trade restrictions has led to strained relationships with traditional allies, such as Canada and Mexico. These countries have historically cooperated with the United States, but the current administration's approach has created tension and uncertainty. The consequences of these policies are not merely abstract. They manifest in real ways, affecting the lives of ordinary people. As we witness rising costs and diminished services, it becomes clear that the approach taken by Trump and his administration is misguided. Rather than fostering economic growth and stability, these policies threaten to exacerbate existing inequalities and create new challenges for the working class. In conclusion, the decisions made by the Trump administration have far-reaching implications for workers, immigrants, and the economy as a whole. The rollback of minimum wage protections for federal contractors, the push for privatization of essential services, and the attack on federal employees all contribute to a broader narrative of economic inequality and instability. As we navigate this complex landscape, it is crucial to recognize the interconnectedness of these issues and advocate for policies that prioritize workers' rights and economic justice. Richard Wolff's insights remind us of the importance of questioning the narratives presented by those in power. By critically examining the motivations behind these policies, we can better understand the challenges we face and work towards a more equitable future for all. For those seeking to take control of their financial future, platforms like Interactive Brokers can provide access to a wide range of investment opportunities, allowing individuals to participate in the market and potentially build wealth over time. Click the first link in the description to learn more. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great content.